A city is built on its neighborhoods, and this particular report to you focuses on one of the neighborhoods that is most in need of the kind of investment that would go along, in our opinion, with the introduction and the development of the modern streetcar line. But our proposal in general calls for two routes generally. One is the eastern route, which would start somewhere in the vicinity of Notre Dame, particularly the area that is now farther away from the campus in terms of affordable housing. It's about walkability is really a key to the success of the streetcar in other communities. The ability to walk 10 or 15 minutes to a streetcar stop, the ability to get off the streetcar one place, walk, and get on it maybe at another stop. And in terms of the Northeast neighborhood, first let me remind folks that the Northeast Neighborhood Board has specifically asked Mayor Mueller and their city councilman, and I'm sure because of the membership of that board, the folks at Notre Dame know that the board strongly supports doing this study. And so the Northeast neighborhood is a particularly important part of this study. As the area walkable to Notre Dame, and it's about a 10-minute walk from the old firehouse up to the Notre Dame campus at Angela and Notre Dame. It's particularly important that folks have other means of getting to the university. And if you live past South Bend Avenue or that firehouse, it's going to be pretty hard for you to walk to work every day, as in the old days. So a streetcar stop that's located somewhere near Notre Dame would be very important for those employees who are not tenured. They call them the non-exempt folks, and that's the folks who are involved in housekeeping, landscaping, food service, administration, non-tenured faculty. A lot of those folks don't make a lot of money, and they may be the second job in their household. And you know what? It costs more than $10,000 a year to own a car, according to the AAA. So how do those folks get to work? Yes, there are bus routes that connect once in a while, but it is not the same as the modern streetcar, as you will see when you see the images of the openness, the ease of access to those who are handicapped in wheelchairs or elderly. And it's particularly important, I think, that there be a stop at least near Notre Dame so those employees and those folks who don't live within a walking distance of the campus have the opportunity to pursue their jobs at the university. The eastern route would start somewhere in the vicinity of Notre Dame and would come down to the East Bank Village, proceed by the Farmers Market, IUSB, through River Park, possibly all the way to Mishawaka. The western route would go from a connection downtown with the eastern route. The eastern route would cross the river, and it would go around what I would call the tourism sites, the museums, the Studebaker Museum, History Museum, the Four Winds Field, and then it would go out, I think, along Chapin to Lincoln Way, and from Lincoln Way it proceeds straight out to the airport, and that is called a transportation-oriented corridor. In fact, a few years ago, under Mayor Buttigieg, a firm called Torty Gallis, which has done a lot of work for the city, I think it's fair to say they are the city's favorite consultant, they specifically recommended in this area, the Lincoln Way corridor, that it be developed as a transportation-oriented corridor. And so you will see in the exhibits we're presenting here that western route, once it gets onto Lincoln Way, goes straight out Lincoln Way. And I've also included here exhibits from the city's consultant, Torty Gallis, which shows that actually they called the program ARISE, and they specifically said that they have the goal of creating what they call using limited resources to create a visionary yet immediately implementable plan to revitalize the struggling neighborhood on the west side of the downtown, the Lincoln Way neighborhood. And as you probably know, there are already some great, let's call them more than points of light in the Northwest neighborhood, the Lincoln Way neighborhood. Citizens, folks who are working and to invest in housing options, and these would only be accelerated rapidly with the investment that a modern streetcar would make there. And this is all subject, as I've said a number of times, to a professional study that involves not only the experts, but the citizens. In fact, the proposal calls for a management committee with the, as you would expect, the public sector. But there's also a citizens advisory committee, which would probably be 25 people, volunteers, and we've already had contacts from enough folks to do that twice over. And our River Rail Task Force is committed to support the work of that advisory committee if this study goes forward, to make sure that all along the way the public has complete transparency and input to the process. But in any case, the specifics of the Lincoln Way corridor, which is really the focus of this particular presentation, is based on the recommendation in part of the city's consultant, Torti Gallus. They said specifically that the plan for Lincoln Way West is to reinforce the historic pattern of residential and retail nodes. They also have said specifically, in addition to providing transportation options, transit also helps support retail and other uses by bringing people to central locations. And here's the part I want to emphasize. The greatest benefits are seen from fixed transit, such as streetcars, since the stations are fixed and investments can be made with relative assurance that there will not be a change in the foreseeable future. And beyond that, I'd like to point out that in the experience in other communities is that the greatest investment and the ones closest to the stations are for residential. And we're talking about, as you know, the great need of the Lincoln Way West corridor. And we have an exhibit here which shows the vacancies, the abandoned lots, and it's very important that the housing be a priority for the phase of development out here. I hope you found this presentation helpful and informative, and on behalf of the River Rail Task Force, I want to thank you for your interest and just let you know that we are continuing to work towards this goal because we think it is potentially, as one leader, by the way, longtime leader on the west side said, could be transformational for the city. That's a phrase we've used, and it is very reassuring and energizing for us to hear folks in the neighborhoods use that phrase. So as we proceed, we're going to be working on behalf of the people in this city in the neighborhoods and businesses in which they reside every day.